Hello and welcome to my presentation. My name is Jessica Richards and I am studying the MSc Animal Welfare Science, Ethics and Law at the University of Winchester. Today I will be discussing the exotic pet trade broadly and the implications and potential benefits that surround it. Please feel free to pause the video to read over the contents page or refer back to it at any point during the presentation. So, what is an exotic pet? There is no fixed definition of an exotic pet. However, they are generally understood as a wild animal kept in captivity as a pet for personal or aesthetic human reasons. The exotic pet trade stems from the illegal wildlife trade mainly, which is the fourth largest global illegal trade, following the drugs trade, weapon trade, and human trafficking trade. Due to its criminal nature, the exotic pet trade remains virtually unrecorded in many parts of the globe. There are not many reliable sources for exotic pets. However, the Pet Food Manufacturers Association provide approximate statistics for pet populations. In 2021, the UK had approximately 4.4 million exotic pets. There was a clear increase in exotic pets in the UK annually. In 2018, the UK had approximately 2 million exotic pets, more than half the population in 2021. This increase is also seen in the United States, where more than 13% of households owned an exotic species in 2016. This is a 25% increase from 2011. The majority of exotic pets in the UK are of the reptilian family. Approximately 70% of reptiles owned in the UK belong to what are known as beginner reptiles, some of which you can see examples of in the image on the right. Demand is growing for exotic pets, especially online. In the UK, a study identified at least 142 exotic species for sale in a 3-month period on classified websites. These species included endangered species such as the Egyptian tortoise. The animal welfare charity Born Free has estimated that in 2018 there was a pet primate population of 4,500 and a population of 4,825 licensed dangerous wild animals in the UK. Species included wildcats, primates, crocodilians, venomous snakes, scorpions and venomous lizards, and even elephants. It is believed that these estimates significantly underrepresent the actual numbers in the UK. Many exotic species have not obtained licenses and are kept illegally. Here you can see an example of a dangerous wild animal license. It is argued that these licenses are not sufficient, either in ensuring endangered animals are kept away from the public, or that their welfare needs are being met. Those obtaining licenses can be untruthful about accommodation or husbandry that will be used for the animals, and checks may not be carried out at all before or after licenses are granted, questioning their reliability. Moving on to consumer demand and motivations then. Historically, the keeping of animals was predominantly based on a utilitarian perspective, meaning animals were kept for practical purposes such as work and other services to humans. However, changes in culture and society have resulted in a variety of reasons for humans to own pets. The demand for exotic pets is usually influenced by the species' aesthetic value, cultural factors, social status, ostentation, and other anthropocentric motivations. For example, an in-depth consumer research study in Tokyo revealed that the main two motivations behind owning exotic pets were kawaii, meaning the cuteness factors, and the sense of iyashi, mental healing properties of the animals. The study also found that popular exotic species included parrots, hedgehogs, rodents, lizards, and turtles and tortoises. The top external influencing factors for demand included social media, television, and family relative influence. This is clear. The plight of the small-clawed otter in Japan, which are a threatened species according to the IUCN Red List, has resulted from mass media influence. This has led to an increase in exotic otter cafes, causing a sudden increase in illegal trade from Southeast Asia. Rather than aesthetic values, exotic pet demand is highly influenced by social status, ostentation, and cultural factors in the Indonesian islands of Java and Bali, where keeping exotic bird species is a symbol of accomplishment and settlement. The incidence of keeping rare and expensive birds increases from lowest to highest income categories, with rare and threatened species such as the Javan hawk eagle especially favoured by a number of upper classes. Broadly, many television and media outlets have influenced exotic pet demands. For example, the upsurge in trade in terrapins followed the release of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, and iguanas following Jurassic Park release. The release of the film Finding Nemo resulted in an estimate 40% demand increase for clownfish, further resulting in a 75% decrease in wild populations. Even some local extinctions in part of South and Southeast Asia was seen. Similarly, the demand for pet axolotls was sparked by the popularity of the video game Minecraft. The Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals is very concerned about this. Moving on to welfare implications. Motivations for owning exotics can be solely based on genuine interest in specific species, although studies have found that generally welfare is compromised regardless of the motives. Exotic pet species have very specific welfare needs, and specialist husbandry is required to ensure survival in captivity, which the vast majority of exotic pet owners cannot facilitate, or they lack the expertise to ensure optimal health and well-being. Many exotic animals suffer from compromised welfare throughout the whole trade process, from capture or captive breeding to being sold and owned. The welfare of exotic animals during capture, captivity, market, and transportation are often overlooked due to the accommodation being temporary. However, statistics regarding tortoises in an exotic pet market in Morocco showed that approximately 25% of animals were exposed to poor living conditions for an extended period of time, in this case 10 to 12 weeks minimum. Similarly, a study by Ashley et al. On more than 26,400 animals in 2013 found that approximately 80% of animals were either extremely unwell, injured, or dead due to poor living conditions in an anonymous wildlife wholesaler. Likewise, the standard mortality rate across the species was approximately 70% during 6 weeks at the wholesalers. The act of wild capture and transportation can cause severe welfare implications. These include physical injury, fear and distress, starvation, dehydration, disruption of wild social networks, myopathy, suffocation, and frequent mortality. Capture of wild animals can be carried out using a variety of equipment that can cause injury and distress. These include snares, traps, nets, cages, and sedation darts. These are often carried out by local residents who have received little to no training in ethical animal capture. A trauma scale was developed to assess and monitor international trapping standards. This was originally for the fur industry. However, it must be noted that the accumulation of what are frequently referred to as small stressors can result in long-term chronic stress for an animal. Comprehensive veterinary literature shows that many welfare concerns are associated with exotic pets. Here on the screen you see some examples from the most popular exotic pets kept: reptiles, African grey parrots, and sugar gliders. Reptile mortality has been estimated to be approximately 75% in the first year of captivity in the UK. Similarly, a British Veterinary Association professional survey found that 49% of reptiles seen at a vet were not having their 5 animal welfare needs met. In 2018, the RSPCA received nearly 1.2 million calls to the 24-hour cruelty hotline. 15,790 regarded exotic pets alone. This is approximately 1 call per hour. Some of the incidences included a dead royal python in the street with evidence of physical abuse to its mouth, 2 stray raccoon dogs, a bearded dragon abandoned in a shoebox next to bins, a dead marmoset monkey in the street. It is estimated that over 400 CITES-listed species have been imported into the UK between 2010 and 2019. Many animals seized were deprived of at least one of their basic welfare requirements in regard to the Animal Welfare Act 2006. There are approximately 4,000 dangerous wild animals in private collections in the UK under licence. The Dangerous Wild Animals Act of 1976 allows any person in Britain to keep a dangerous animal so long as they can obtain a licence that we saw earlier from local authorities. The licence application requires the applicant to demonstrate proper containment of an animal in question to prevent escapes and protect the general public. However, no focus is on the welfare of the animal. The Act has also not been updated in 40 years, meaning many dangerous species are not covered. This includes the Komodo dragon, large constrictor snakes, and other large monitors. There are also many instances where the Act's rules are not followed, and many potentially dangerous animals are kept illegally. Keeping dangerous animals results in dangerous situations. For example, a hybrid savanna cat escaped captivity in a busy area of London. A 7-foot-long captive boa constrictor was found in a back garden and attacked a rescuer on the Isle of Sheppey. A python attacked a woman in the eye in a club in London, and a man was killed by an 8-foot-long African rock python in Hampshire. These were all in the UK. The international exotic pet trade plays a key factor in some species extinctions. Although many exotic pets are transported out of their native environments into captivity, many are also released or escape. There is evidence that past exotic pet trade has resulted in the establishment of non-native species in many areas of the world. 140 non-native reptiles and amphibian species have been introduced in Florida, with nearly 85% of individuals being introduced via the exotic pet trade. An example of this is the introduction of the Burmese python, which has been an invasive species in Florida, United States, since the 1980s, where a captive snake was released and acclimatized to a non-native environment. This invasion has resulted in population decrease of natural species such as the local bobcat, rabbit, and opossum in Florida. Another example is the red-eared slider, a common turtle species kept as exotic pets in the United States. This species is native to south-central regions of the US. However, there are now established populations in numerous non-native regions of the US, including Hawaii. Similarly, 70% of non-native mammal invasions in Brazil result from the pet trade, and the primary cause of new non-native populations of amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds in Europe is the exotic pet trade escapes and releases. The invasion of non-native or invasive species can spread unfamiliar pathogens and introduce diseases to native wild populations in destination countries, resulting in morbidity, mortality, or even local extinctions. The wildlife trade is a major contributor to global zoonotic disease outbreaks, with the prevalence of zoonosis from exotic pet ownerships rising. Illegally imported species or unlicensed animals do not receive health checks or any valid health certification before entering a destination country, posing a great risk to public health. In 2012, there is approximately 74,000 reported cases of salmonellosis in the US and 6,000 cases in the UK, all resulting from captive reptile ownership. Data showed that 27% of children under the age of 5 who contracted reptile-associated salmonellosis ended up hospitalized in southwest England. Other zoonotic pathogens that have been transmitted through exotic pets include hantavirus, Bartonella, lymphocytus choriomeningitis, which is particularly threatening to pregnancy in humans, Mycobacterium, ringworm, Yersinia, West Nile virus, rabies, tetanus, and many more. The illegal exotic pet trade is classed as the fourth most profitable international crime after drug, weapon, and human trafficking trades. Therefore, if demand is there, trade will resume. The legal exotic pet trade is extremely profitable to economies, especially those with a smaller economy, generating between 31 to 43 billion US dollars annually, as well as providing economic stability for hundreds of self-sustaining communities and workers. It has also been argued that the exotic pet trade can also benefit conservation as well as economic gain. For example, wild crested gecko populations have increased from near extinction due to captive breeders. Animal charities Born Free and the RSPCA have called on governments to revise and amend documents such as the Animal Welfare Kept Animals Bill and the Dangerous Wild Animals Act 1976 in an attempt to reduce the exotic trade and prevent all risks associated with exotic pet keeping. These actions can be utilised internationally to minimise concerns surrounding public health and animal welfare, as well as attempting to combat illegal trade and activity. In terms of consumer demand, some suggest education and public awareness can be beneficial. Linking to an earlier discussed study of demand for exotic species in Japan, 68% of respondents were unaware of any potential risks associated with exotic pet keeping, and after being informed, 95% expressed concerns surrounding the trade in general. Following on from education, social media and mass media outlets could be utilised to increase public awareness regarding concerns around the exotic pet industry. Thank you for your attention, and please find my reference list at the end.